Okay, so time has finally arrived to put this video together. It's been on my mind for a little, well, basically since I started lifting, because every time I step into a commercial gym of any sort, I see people absolutely butchering my favorite movement. It makes me upset. It makes me feel slightly ill. Uh, so, so uh, here to talk about basically how to squat. Um, Everybody should be squatting. Um, it should be a staple in any strength training routine, especially at the beginning. So, for instance, I think if you're an elite level bodybuilder, obviously a lot of the guys now have gotten away from that sort of raw iron strength training. A lot of them rely on machines and time under tension, and also routines based around drug use. But that's a different topic for a different day. Obviously, they don't have to anymore. They're at that level. But you also see like a lot of the best sets of legs and a lot of the best bodybuilders now, like Flex Lewis, started as powerlifters and therefore obviously were squatting. Like obviously Ronnie Coleman, Tom Platz, Arnold. The squat's the king. It's time people stopped ignoring it. It's time to bring back the golden age. And yeah, Jason, what would you consider valid excuses for actually not squatting?
You shouldn't have an excuse for not squatting unless you have a broken back.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so wait. So I think everybody should be squatting. If you're doing any type of training, you should be squatting.
And we're here to show you how. We're going to break it down. We're going to talk about bar position. That's going to be coming up now. Then we're going to go into the actual squat, squat mechanics, and then there's a little bit of training footage at the end. So let's get cracking.
Okay, so this is a high bar position here. This is me. I don't know why the bar is so skew on my back. Rob, can you explain?
Genuinely,
Is that not
Without-
shoulder?
without-
Is that shoulder mobility or is it just? I'm just skew.
On first glance, obviously I haven't looked at it in great depth, but most of the things I see like this, any sort of imbalance in pectoral girdle, anything around your shoulder, is caused by inflammation in your traps. And I'm going to explain that. You see how the shoulder blades are coming together? That's scapular retraction. If one scapula is slightly impaired by
Okay,
some-
so
by some
I went to physio for that, and that's what he actually told me.
yeah.
That's
See,
exactly what he
I
told me.
don't make this shit up. So
Okay,
also,
so-
yeah, I'm just gonna make a point on that first, guys. Whenever you set up the bar, make sure that your shoulder blades are retracted. You want to keep that tightness. You want to keep that tension in your back. It keeps the bar still first and foremost, and it also helps aid you keep a flat back throughout the rest of the squat. So that would be my point number one when it comes to setting up your bar. We're going to show slightly later low bar. So this is a high bar. High bar in terms of as a variation of the standard squat. This is like a more of an Olympic weightlifting style. Obviously the higher bar requires you to be much more upright. There's no fancy reason behind that. It's that simple physics. If you think the lower your bar down is your torso, the shorter the lever is, and then obviously the less chance you have of toppling forward. So guys need better mobility, I feel, to pull off this squat properly. Guys with shorter femurs also manage to push bigger weights in this sort of variation. But yeah, bodybuilding perspective. What
So
would you
that's
say?
okay. That's how you know if you should be using low bar or high bar squat. The length of your femurs, and is that it?
Well, also it depends what you're looking for. The high bar, some feel gives them better quad development, which turning
Compared to the low bar.
yeah, compared to the low bar, which mechanically does make sense because you're more upright. Your quads have to push you through the movement and that the lack of sitting back Sort of takes your glutes and your hamstrings out of it a little bit and puts more stress on your quads. So I say if you're looking for optimal quad development, I'd go for high bar. But if you're just starting out, if you're starting a strength training routine, I definitely recommend low bar, as it's.
But don't you think because you can use more weight if you do a low bar squat?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that it goes back to my earlier point. Like, if you're further down the line in terms of your overall progress, like you've been training a few years, then you can try out sort of variations. You can stop squatting altogether if if your legs are a strong point for you or something like that. You know what I mean? This is addressed, obviously, the name of the video. Some people might gather something from it regardless of how advanced you are, but this is an introductory video to squatting. So I definitely recommend low bar to beginners, basically just because
You don't
it's
need
easier.
much mobility.
Yeah, well, it's easier to progress.
Then
It puts the knee in a safer position. It's easier to progress. It's more total leg development. So yeah, let's move on to the picture of the low bar just to see the difference. Jason, what the fuck, dude? Why is your bar so skew on your back? Now this
Okay,
one.
this looks worse than the high bar.
Yeah, this has got nothing to do with scapular mobility. This is just you being a dumbass and not paying attention. But anyway, this is the low bar position. Same thing again, you can see your shoulder blades are tightly squeezed together. Obviously, as the name suggests, instead of sitting on your traps, this is lowered down. I'd say rear delts, so the back of your shoulders. Hey, that's pretty much where you are there.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to sort of use your wrists to. The common expression is create a shelf. So between the tension in your back and your wrists, you have a nice shelf to keep the bar nice and still. Like the first time you try this, it will feel uncomfortable. You can use wrist wraps if you have wrist problems. I said my wrists are sometimes not great.
So does it? You've been doing low bar for a while now.
Yeah.
Does it still feel uncomfortable, or do you get used to it?
To an extent.
Because I tried it once.
Okay, listen.
And
for me, because my mobility is less than stellar,
that's why it's still sore.
Yeah, my first couple of warm-up sets, I actually start my hands wider and then
work
and my bar higher, and then progressively advance to like this position. So my pecs loosen up, my traps relax. Okay. So it's never really comfortable. But if you want it to be comfortable,
work on mobility.
Well, also, or just pick chess as a hobby. You know what I mean? Like, don't bitch about your squat position being sore. You do what's best. You do what's optimal.
Okay.
And yeah, this is the one I'd recommend for beginners, because it's easier to progress. You can add more poundage week by week, and that's the name of the game: progressive overload.
Okay, but it's not a must. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do.
As honestly, okay, listen, I'd rank it. I'd go high bar squat, first prize.
Yeah.
Sorry. Low bar squat, first prize. High bar squat, second prize for a beginner. Not squatting and doing other shit is 11. Don't do that. Especially leg press. Don't squat first. Either do both or squat. Oh, don't just leg press. Okay. Rambling, different.
Okay, wait. So this is the difference between a low bar squat and a high bar squat. Because some people think a high bar squat means you must half squat.
Everybody thinks that a squat is.
And a low bar squat is where you take it to death.
Good. I'm almost ready to move on to actually how to squat, but I'm gonna have to say one last word. You're gonna have to notice that both of these pictures and all of our squatting in general contains no tampon bar. No pussy pad. None of that black fluffy shit around your bar when you squat. You want to feel metal on metal, and there is genuinely a reason behind it. The higher that bar is off the back, the longer your lever is, and the less potential A you have to move weight, and B the more potential you have to topple over. So say no to the bitch pad and squat like a man with just the bar.
You can use it
men and women.
You can use it for hip thrusts though. I do to the hip thrust.
Yeah, that's. I mean, you're protecting the wedding tackle there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's different. Okay, so we're moving on to the actual squat now. Obviously, bars on the back. Walk out the rack with confidence. Like, don't mess around too much. Don't stutter. You know where your feet need to be. Obviously, you get more rehearsed in this as time goes along. Obviously, you need to practice something to get good at it. But in terms of foot position, I think general rule of thumb is slightly wider than the shoulder width, toes. I wouldn't say any more than 45 degrees pointing out. Slightly less, I think. Hey, where do you like your toes?
I don't know. I actually change it from time to time. I don't
Okay.
know why.
Okay, well, listen, I mean, start slightly wider than shoulder width with your toes a little bit out. Obviously, that encourages the knee to track outwards. I don't like watching squats when the knees sort of go forward. Out is always preferable, and we'll go into that a little bit later. But yeah, play around with it. One of the main points I need to make here, though, is when it comes to squat stance, don't write checks that your hip flexors can't catch. You know what I'm saying? Like the width at which you can squat, it will be determined by your hip flexibility. So I'd say play around with it, find what's comfortable, and squat with the widest possible stance.
Is that the problem I have? Squatting too narrow, where you see.
I think so. Like we'll come back to that when we watch your video later.
Okay.
But yeah, squat with the widest possible stance that you can, that allows your knees to still be over your toes at the bottom of the squat. So you don't want them coming in. You don't want them just going straight ahead. So you don't want your knee to be inside your toe at the bottom of the squat. They need to be in line at the bottom. So play around, figure it out. Obviously no one's universal. You're gonna have to mess around with it. In terms of torso position, make sure your abs are tight. Make sure your shoulder blades are set, your chest is pushing up. Neutral head. A lot of people tend to look at the ceiling.
Yeah, I see that a lot.
Yeah, like it's okay, it's not bad, but it puts unnecessary stress on the neck. You should be able to push your chest up and have an upright torso without looking at the
What's
ceiling.
the neutral head position?
Yeah, exactly. And then obviously don't look down, because that just encourages thoracic rounding, so rounding of the mid back, which destroys the squat completely.
Getting air into the stomach. We'll do that on the next one.
No, let's talk about that now. Actually, at the top of the squat, before you do anything, the second before you're about to squat, deep breath, and imagine trying to breathe into your belly. So the especially when you're squatting without a belt, and even if you are squatting with a belt, the main goal of that breath is to create as much intra-abdominal pressure as possible. So you're trying to put as much pressure in your tummy as you can, and what this is going to do is it's going to stabilize your spine.
And don't let the air out into your mouth,
Yeah.
because then you get that blowfish.
Yeah,
look.
yeah,
So-
exactly. Your cheek shouldn't be puffy. It should be a deep breath, and you should practice sending it where you need to send it. So this is a frozen frame of the initial break. So this is after you've taken your breath. What you want to do now is keep your weight on your heels and kick your bum back. Force your knees out from this position, and obviously try and maintain as upright a posture as you can. Guys with longer femurs, as we mentioned before, are going to have to lean forward a little bit more. But that doesn't matter. The degree of hip flexion doesn't matter as long as your back is flat. Like you look at, how's Lane Norton squat? It's like a good morning,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's safe, it's effective, he puts up good numbers. You need to tailor what you do to your frame.
Yeah, not everyone's squat is going to look the same.
Exactly. But one thing remains universal, the initial movement, kick your bum back, keep your weight on your heels, and push your knees out.
Finished.
Okay, so here we've got the bottom of the squat. Actually, I can critique myself on a few things there. This is actually pretty shit rep we've got here.
Okay, but this is actually proper depth.
Yeah, yeah. Good rule of thumb. Rule of thumb for depth. I know a lot of the powerlifting federations use that the crease of your knee has to be at least in line. The crease of your hip needs to be in line with your knee. But yeah, what you want to do in the bottom position, which I'm actually not doing very well here, you need to sit back. What I can see, what I can immediately see from my own positioning here, I'm too far forward. You can see my weight distribution is a little bit too far towards my toes, and I haven't sat back enough. So what this has caused me to do is I've got a little bit of thoracic rounding there, so my back's rounded slightly, and my knees have been pushed a little bit too far over my toes. So yeah, pretty obvious I didn't listen to my information in the last frame. But in the bottom position, general rule of thumb, again, keep your weight on your heels.
Yeah. But couldn't this just be a mobility issue?
I think that is a mobility issue. I seem to remember we actually filmed this after I did my heavy lifts.
220 times for 7.
Yeah, which you'll see later on. But so I'm pretty durst by this point. But that's 60 that's 60 kilos on the bar.
Yeah,
That's
it is
still
very light.
that's absolutely unacceptable, Rob. But yeah, general rule of thumb, bottom position. You want to force your knees out as far as you can. That's at least one thing I haven't messed up in this. My knees do look to be over my toes. So at least hip mobility is not my problem. But yeah, keep your weight on your heels, sit back as far as you can, and then push your chest up, which I've failed to do a little bit here. Also,
Yes.
yeah. Also, what can aid in keeping upright? Actually, you can see sort of through the hole in the plate that my elbows are a little bit too far towards my back.
Yeah.
So what you want to do in order to help your upright posture in the squat, push your chest up and push your elbows forward. That's depending on your shoulder mobility again. That's going to keep you nice and upright. And
maybe work on becoming a supple leopard.
yeah, I need to be a supple leopard. Kelly Starlett, I need him in my life. But and then just in terms of accelerating out the bottom, don't pause. If you're not doing pause squats, don't pause.
Yeah.
What pausing does, you've got something in your muscle called the muscle spindle, and when you go from so the downwards portion is an eccentric and the positive portion is a concentric. When you go from when you get an immediate changeover, your muscle spindle actually acts like an elastic and helps your muscle contract harder on the way up. So as soon as you pause, you lose that. And this is the most difficult position in the squat. Like, where do you fail most?
That's what makes it harder getting out of the hole on a pause.
Yeah, absolutely, because you've removed the stretch reflex.
Okay.
But like, where do you fail most of your squats? It's either in the bottom or just out of the bottom.
Okay, yeah. When I trained like an idiot, I failed in the bottom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So you want to maximize the changeover. You want to accelerate out the bottom. I remember I had a weightlifting coach, Andrew, absolutely brilliant. But he used to tell me to imagine that there's firecrackers underneath my ass. So like, as soon as I drop,
To get out of the hole.
as soon as I drop, you need to get the hell out of there. That's all you need to be thinking. I'm gonna drop, and then I'm gonna come up. Also, in terms of descent, don't overthink it. Confidence is key here. You need to have faith in the fact that when you sit down, you're going to get back up. Like, if you think a weight's going to crush you, 90% of the chance it is.
will.
Yeah, exactly. So this is a mental game as well. Sit, accelerate, come back up. And here's the finished product. And that actually looks a little bit better than the rep that we paused, so that's embarrassing. But yeah. And then just one more point about whether you lock your knees or not at the top. Obviously, powerlifting, any sort of weightlifting pursuit, you want to lock your knees because that's what you're going to have to do in competition. Practice how you train. In terms of muscular growth, I'd say
Don't lock your knees.
Yeah, if you don't lock your knees, you keep tension on the quad. You're not loading your joints. Yeah, for hypertrophy purposes, unless you're going super duper heavy and you actually need that rest in between sets,
Then lock out.
yeah, then obviously you can breathe at the top. But if you're trying to squat purely for hypertrophy purposes, then I'd go right up into the point just before your knees lock, and then I'd start your next rep. Keeps tension on the quad. Obviously, time under tension is one of the major contributing factors to hypertrophy.
Okay, so this is my squat here. There's all types of shit going on here. I don't know what exactly. Rob knows more than I do. So let's let Rob explain the shit.
Okay. First of all, dead ass.
Wait. I know. Okay, something does feel wrong here, but
Yeah.
I just keep on ignoring it.
I think the worst thing going on here is the wedgie that shit's giving you right there.
That's from the hip thrust.
Okay, yeah, 100%. That for them booty gains. But if I was to actually critique anything, I'd say most of you. Obviously, it's a good squat, dude. You're a good lifter. But if I could critique anything, I'd say that you need to go slightly wider. Potentially turn your toes out a little bit.
I've actually tried a wider stance before, and it actually did feel a lot better. And I think if I do go wider with my stance, I'll be able to keep more weight on the heels.
Yeah, absolutely.
Think so.
Yeah, but yeah, the closer your feet, obviously the more inclined you are.
And more forward lean.
Yeah, the forward lean, as I said before, is caused by the narrower your feet, the less room you have to sit back, and therefore
Yeah.
the more chance you have of toppling forward. So points for Jay, slightly wider. He needs to keep his weight on his heels a little bit more, and you need to force your knees out. Like I saw one rep there, you do a little bit of a stanky leg, not great for the knee. And you lose pretty much all power from your glutes at that stage.
And I have been feeling more knee pain squatting like this.
Yeah. Well,
when I squat wider, there's not much. Okay.
well then go.
No knee
Yeah.
pain.
Then go back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, you do have quite long femurs actually. You can see. So again, wider, and don't worry about leaning forward. Like you look at your squats. You're very, 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 very upright. So the more upright you are, obviously with heavier poundages, unless you're, one of those Chinese weightlifting robots that you see in the Olympics, you're gonna topple forward more. So wider base of support, spread your knees, get your ass involved. Because also, bud, have you seen the size of the junk in the trunk? you need to use that shit. Like there's a very, very good powerlifting gym called Westside Barbell, and the head coach there, a guy called Louis Simmons, speaks about wide being able to come in, close, can't go out. So he's talking about
that makes sense.
He's talking about power development. Basically, your glutes are the driving force in a squat. They are your glutes and your hamstrings will always be able to hold more, to be able to apply more force than your quads, just because of their positioning and the size, especially of Jason's bum. So, I'd make your sort of standard squat a little bit wider, and then obviously if you want to use this sort of narrower stance, I mean your bar is quite high as well. So I think you just need to move slightly more towards a power squat. But again, for anybody sort of trying to implement anything that they've heard here, make your changes slow. Like as soon as you start squatting loads with new form, that's when injuries happen. So I rate you, slowly get wider. Try it each week. See what feels good. See what pushes your poundages up. What you can make the most sustainable progressions on. And then obviously, if you've tried every foot position, you're gonna know what's right for you. So yeah, that's my advice to Jay.
I know what's right for me. I just don't do it because I'm fucking dumb.
Yeah. Well, listen. Again, also if you have any sort of knee pain, I'd recommend.
Yeah, because even on the leg press, I've been going a bit narrow and it is taxing my knees.
Yeah. Go wider. Stop the stanky leg.
Yeah.
And yeah, just gravitate more towards a power squat, and I think your lifts will go up.
Okay, so yeah, we just have some motivation at the end from Rob. Maybe I can do this weight when I am on some, or breathe in some of his Anabolics.
the anabolic aura, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, no, okay, so this was 220 for 7, beltless, red, angry. That's our mate sort of looking in at the corner there.
Nipples.
Yeah, a little bit strange. We like to call him Nipples. We won't mention any names, but I'm sure some of you guys watching this video will know who he is. But yeah, here, obviously, like,
Wait, how much is this?
this is 220 for boltless 7.
Is that a PR or
Yeah,
have you done?
yeah, no, I haven't done that without a bolt before. But yeah, shot for watching, guys. There'll be much more to come.
Peace fucking out.